Well, welcome everybody to another segment of Lewis at Large. Yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck. And of course, that means some extremely smart talk radio is in your future. In this segment, we are so excited to have Natasha Devine with us. She is many things. We're going to talk about a brand new novel that she has released called The Industry. But who is she? Here's who she is. Well, first of all, she's the daughter of famous Irish footballer John Devine and writer-broadcaster Michelle Roca Morrison. She's also the stepdaughter of Van Morrison, and you know certainly of his work. She is an ambassador for Aware and Sports Against Racism Ireland Charities. She's the owner of NRD Productions. And again, she is well-traveled, well-liked. This is the second attempt at this interview. The first one was attempted when she was at JFK Airport in New York. We're having some transmission issues there, but she is now in sunny Southern California a while later and enjoying the States indeed. Natasha, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, thank you. I love the accolades you've just given me. I don't know if my sisters would agree, but thank you so much. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction, and I'm fantastic. It's incredible to be at the West Coast. I'm equally as great as New York, but in a different way. So, apologies for the last time I was in transit on my book tour, so thank you for having me back.
Yeah, we're happy to have you here. Natasha, you have done much in your own right, not related to the work of your parents or your stepfather, but because of the upbringing that you have around sports and music, celebrity, the travel, the limelight, the microscope at times. How do you think just your upbringing changed or affected, at least, Natasha, your outlook on what life is all about?
It's definitely influenced my life. I think I grew up thinking that fame and being in media was the norm because that's what I grew up around. But equally, I had very grounded family members outside of my parents and my stepdad, and them included. So I always had a balance of everything. And I think I needed a few more years to work out where I fit in everything, whether I wanted to be in media or outside of media. But it's definitely given me an idea of the industry and fame, and it fascinates me how my generation and the culture nowadays is to become famous, and that's the norm. Everyone wants to be famous and they don't really understand what that is. So, it's definitely made me more shrewd and aware that it is a business, which is why I've named my book The Industry rather than the excitement of it, showing that, you have to make sales and it's like any other business. So it's definitely, in that sense, it's influenced me. But on a positive sense, I've seen where anything is possible. I've been on world tours and seen my dad play for Ireland and my mom be on stage hosting shows for charity and things for thousands of people. So I'm pretty fearless in that way. I think anything is possible, and I definitely try and encourage other people to take risks because I've seen my parents achieve so much. So it's influenced me hugely positively, and in other respects I'm just a bit more practical about the entertainment side of things.
When you were, as you travel, and particularly, I'll put this closer to home, particularly in Ireland and in that general area, fame has opened doors for your family, but I would think it has also shut or made others harder to open. Was it easy for you to know kind of who your real friends were and who were just sort of the hanger-ons?
I think for everybody growing up, I think we all struggle with, when you're working out who you are and where you fit, we all struggle trying to find true friends. And they say you have 4 or 5 in your whole life that you can count on a hand, and I definitely agree on that. I think, I'm very shrewd in that sense. I have a lot of acquaintances. I like people. I'm very interested by them, and I respect different personalities and stuff. But yeah, for close friends, I'm very cautious. My friends are generally outside of media, and they're happy and they're confident and doing their own thing. And another thing is, a lot of my friends would be older, so they're running their own businesses and they've children, so they wouldn't even have time, with their busy lives to be worrying about what I'm doing. So I would be very practical in terms of who I have very close to me.
One of the things I would also like to explore, you certainly came from privilege. It gave you a different perspective. It meant that maybe some of the struggles that you had were not shared by others. You weren't terribly worried about where your next meal was coming from. But I'm also aware you have a very strong interest, and I'd like to have you, if you would, share with us a little bit your work as the ambassador for Aware in Sports Against Racism Ireland Charities. Tell our Lewis at Large listeners what that's all about.
Well, I think for me, I always say this to people, is I relate to being a little bit outside of the norm. So in a way, I can relate to someone who has been treated with racism, because when you're from outside of the norm of society, people treat you differently before they meet you. So that's why I'm very close. It's very close to home for me, people who are dealt with that horrible xenophobia and racism and all that kind of stuff going on in society and continuing to go on. So I can relate so much, and I think it's absolutely disgraceful that people in such a modern world are still being attacked for their color of their skin or something like that, and where they're from, and, you know, whether they're from a great family or you know, it really should not matter. It's all down to the individual. So in that sense, that's my anti-racism campaign. And then for Aware, I went. It's in a charity for mental health and prevention against suicide. And for me, I've lost family members and close friends, and, you know, even acquaintances through, you know, the tragic death of suicide. And personally, I went through an accident at 19, which was based on my first book, Awareness: Creating Your Own Balance in Life, where I was in a coma, and it was rock bottom for me, my recovery. Thankfully, I'm out and everything's great now, but, you know, I was close to a very, low moment of my life, and I can really relate to people who are naturally suffering from depression or just low moments due to chemical imbalances or, you know, just circumstances in life. So for both of those things, they matter so much to me. And if I'm in a position where people can listen to me through my family or just through my work, then I definitely will voice an opinion for the masses who are all suffering on this. And most importantly, to encourage people to, get over all of the issues and really, get over being worried what people think, and get out there and get help if you need it, and speak up if you're being bullied or anything like that. You know, life is too short and we all deserve to be happy, and that's really my philosophy on, with the charity work.
Again, if you just joined us, here's truly Warner Lewis from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio, and of course, we're in the midst of some Smart Talk Radio with Natasha Devine. She is and a prolific author, but she is also a designer. She has a degree in design. She also has she's got a master's in journalism and media communications, and so she is well traveled. Her parents, famous Irish footballer John Devine and writer broadcaster Michelle Rocha Morrison. She is also the stepdaughter of famed musician Van Morrison. Hey, Natasha, when we talk about those that have come from celebrity, whether they're worldwide or regional, describe, if you would, your relationship with mom and dad. They were both highly, they were very, very accomplished in their own right, and I'm curious as to the kind of lessons maybe you learned from them and the kind of relationship they had.
Yeah, you mean my mom and my dad, John?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, both of my parents. I see my parents like my best friends. They had me quite young. My parents were like Posh and Becks, Victoria Beckham and David Beckham of their time in Ireland, and they were hugely famous, and their wedding was like a very big deal in Ireland at the time. So, they dealt with a huge pressure in a time where fame was highly respected, and they were under severe pressure in terms of their careers and also, having children quite young and marrying quite young. So, I think they did an incredible job raising me and my sisters, and, they get along really well now, and I think they separated quite young. I personally think due to pressure, I think it's a very difficult business to be in, and that's another reason why I'm writing a book on the industry, because I think marriages or relationships or friendships or jobs and everything may last, but under that severe pressure, can put cracks in even the best of things. So, I don't know, they've taught me a lot. My mom is very grounded about it. She always thinks it's business and you need to earn money and have respect, and she always encouraged me, particularly as a woman in media, to go and study and have my own name, and never follow in her footsteps, and always find my own identity, which is why I've kind of stepped into American media at a later age than I would have maybe preferred. But I'm really, really glad that she taught me that lesson. And my dad would be a very humble man. He came from inner city Dublin and was a successful footballer, and he always just gave me reality checks. If I was ever acting up on stuff, he was always saying, we're all equal. don't ever think that you're above people. That's just ego stuff. So both of my parents would be very grounded, and they treat people with like huge respect. So that's something that I've really learned from both of them, and they worked hard to get where they did. So that's something I continue to do in my own work.
Indeed. And what about, again, your relationship with your stepfather, Van Morrison? That also would have put you in a much different perspective.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's an absolute living legend with his music and stuff, and he just, like, even observing him, even being around someone that famous and talented, and, seeing him at work and through, going on tours and stuff, I just think he just taught me so much about the joy of being low-key. He got such a hard time. I feel bad for him. He got such a hard time for being low-key, and then suddenly now everyone else wants to be low-key, and he's the cool one, So he just taught me that, like, just always keep low-key and just keep to your art. And I just think he doesn't conform, and that's something I absolutely love. I think it's the biggest lesson I've learned is he does what's good for him and his music, and he doesn't conform, and it's all about the art and the music and collaborating with people on the same page, and that's something I definitely take from him. And the three of them have such work ethic, and they're all very modest in their own ways. So it's something that's definitely rippled onto my career and my personality.
What, as you look back, and again, you're still young, but you're through at least your adolescence and your formative years, so to speak. How do you think you view the world differently than most people your age? I know that's a big sweeping question there, but
I could get into trouble here.
Well, go ahead. Your perspective. That's why you're here. We're anxious to hear what you think.
Sure. Yeah. I definitely think I'm more serious. Some people call me intense and stuff, and I'm equally as intense as I am lighthearted. But I've been through a coma. I've grown up in the limelight. I've studied really hard to, particularly which was difficult after a coma. I had a brain hemorrhage. So, I've been through a lot for my age, and I've experienced, things that a lot of people may never experience in their life. So I just, I take people as they are, and I understand that people aren't going to understand me, and I may not understand them, but I always try to give people a chance and the benefit of the doubt. So for me, I definitely think I look at life in a very different way. I have even a tattoo saying Viva per Ora, like live for today. And I feel like we have to all try our best to live in the moment. Create, I always think leave things better than you found them. My tag is lots of light. I always wish that for everybody. I want to use my position in media and through my work and, hopefully without sounding arrogant, provide lessons for people and leave things more positive. I don't think I have to come in and be arrogant because of my family. I think I can come in and do some great things with charity and speak up. So, I feel like maybe I am more serious about my career and stuff because it's something very close to my heart. But other than that, I'm still quite normal in terms of I love, comedy, and I love the Mindy Project. I love food. I love going out with my friends. In that sense, I'm very similar. But I definitely think when it comes to my career, I would be more serious, and also I would definitely look at fame in a hugely different way to my peers. And with social media, I would only use it for my business. So, in all those respects, I am quite different. Than people my age.
Well, children of celebrities tend to run sometimes with other children of other celebrities. Did you find that to be true, or did you stay on your own path?
I met people along the way, but it was never I never sought out to meet people like that. I think in Ireland there's a few Rosanna Davison, who's Krista Berg's daughter. She was in Ireland, but we actually never really hung out. It was just circumstances. I was always traveling a lot, so I think in London and in Milan and people in places like that, where I would be drawn to people who their families, were in creative careers or, business people and things like that. I think I'm definitely drawn to people who are ambitious and hardworking, so that come from families who are successful in a sense. They've got their own stuff going on. So maybe not in media, famous people, but definitely drawn to people who, want to make something out of their life.
Again, we're talking to Natasha Devine. She is a writer, designer, author, ambassador, Irish socialite, well-traveled. Brand new work by her called The Industry. It's a novel. Let's talk about Natasha, The Industry. You said earlier you specifically called it The Industry to give it a little bit higher, loftier title. Why a novel versus a work of nonfiction?
Well, I've done, my first book was like a hybrid book, Awareness, Creating Your Own Balance in Life. So I tried that and I learned a lot from that book. And then, it was the next step. I had an online production company back in Ireland, for a few years where I had like my own NRD TV, my own TV channel, and I'd done some broadcasting and some acting and some work in front of camera. So it was just really the next step for me to do a work of fiction. I was trying to write a romantic story of an Irish countryside tale, and then, an agent just advised me, you're going in the wrong direction. You have like complete insight into an industry that people will live or die for, so you need to use this in your writing. And, I brainstormed it and I just thought, they're right, and that's probably it. Everything kind of came from there, and I just went with it, and I worked really hard, just to create a fictional story and not repeat things that I've experienced, and just really create their characters and their own identities. And it's a trilogy, so I'm on the next book, The Industry After Party, and I think it's going to get more into character development and things like that. So I think it's an exciting topic, and I also think a lot of social media is in it, and that's the age we live in, and online dating, and exciting topic. So I think the readers will be quite interested in what's going on for the characters.
Yeah, indeed. Have you had people that already come up to you and say, hey, is that me in that character?
Oh, I've had a lot. It's so funny. As soon as it got out in Ireland that I'm doing, because the first book was very different. It was like life coaching. I had a lot of people suddenly being nice to me, and it was really funny. You just have to laugh. I would never. I'm not out to trash people. I think we all know good and bad people in the world. I don't need to pick out people that I've met along the way, but I do hear funny stories, of dates and stuff, and I definitely will, draw from things like that and put them in an appropriate way. But I would never just use experiences of people. But it's also good. It's funny that people are suddenly nice to me. I suppose it's real life, and people are nervous they're going to be in it. But don't worry, for anyone listening, I'm not gonna put you in trash.
Well, you travel a lot. You've got a lot of varied interests. A lot of writers will tell you when they write something, it's a grind. I mean, it is intense. It can be long, and it's starting over, and all the various things that go into that. When do you set aside time to write, or do you stop when you sort of get an inspiration and just dive into it?
I just decided to write this fiction about, I think it was probably about 2 years ago over Christmas. My family went away and I decided to go against it, and I stayed on my own, and I wrote about 1/3 of the book or 1/4. And then I met an agent and I just did an online course. But at that time I actually was working full-time in Hockton, Mifflin Harcourt Publishing, and I was on the print to digital conversion. So all the school books in America, I was on the project where we converted all the ebooks to print books, the print books to ebooks. So I was in a very intensive job for a global publishing company. So I had no choice. I literally, a bit like what you're saying about the other writers, I had to do it. I just felt that it was in my blood that I had to finish this. It's like starting a canvas. You can't stop. So I would write that every night. I would come home and I would write till about 3 a.m, and then I'd go to work the next day. And only when I told my employers and stuff at the end that I was releasing a book, they were so shocked, because the hours are quite long. So I think it requires a huge amount of discipline. But any artistic person will say, once you have the idea and the passion, you don't consider the time. It's, you just go with it, and if you love what you do, then you don't. There's nothing stopping you.
Right. Again, and that kind of leads to my next question. You kind of touched on it here. You have traveled. You do charity work. You've done. I assume. Have you done some runway work too?
Yeah, I've done a few things in college.
That's what I thought you did.
Modeling.
Okay. Well, writing seems to be something that feels very comfortable to you. Do you see a day when that might be primarily what you're doing, is simply writing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing some freelance work as well, consulting and things like that. But I'm an interiors editor for a magazine in Ireland, and my aim really is to, work for an American magazine, have an agent over here, and really get involved in collaborative projects, whether it's magazines or, maybe ghostwriting for people. I'm finishing my book, and I'm also actually doing a children's book. So, and it's with an American illustrator, Gary Reynolds. and he's a fantastic guy. He helps with Curious George. So, there's a lot of different areas of writing and publishing, which is, it always leaves doors open, but children's books can be developed into an app and lots of different things. So, the doors are always open, and for me, I think publishing and writing and all the things that come with it is definitely my career and the way forward.
Once people complete the read of the industry, what do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to have a little bit of a sense of humor about my characters, to pick up on that, not to take everything so seriously, because, I don't want it to be, trashing anything, as much as they're serious messages, but just to really see that, when you go in fast in any business, you end fast, and the cream always rises to the top. So just work at your craft, and if you want to be in fame and that's your, you want to be a singer, then absolutely go for that 110%, or a dancer, or anything media related. But, definitely work on your craft and step in when you're ready. So then it's just being famous is an add-on to what you're doing as opposed to who you are. So that's really the fundamental message. And obviously as the books progress, we'll touch on different themes as well.
Well, this woman, you're beginning to hear about her now. You will hear much from her in the years to come. Natasha Devine. She is the daughter of a couple of extremely well-known people from Ireland. What? That's sort of ridiculous. She's the daughter of, anyway, she has a wonderful mother and father, John Devine and Michelle Roca Morrison, and a famed, obviously, musician in Van Morrison is her stepfather, but in her own right, very much a powerhouse herself. The work is called The Industry. It is published by New Generation Publishing. Probably obvious, but Natasha, how can people find out more about the work that you do? Maybe pick up a copy of the book and maybe some of the charities that you're working with.
Yeah, they can go to my website, The Industry Nerd, which is NRD, not NERD, my initials. And then just check out, my biog and that, links to my Facebook and social media, and you can see, some of my book tour and some of the exciting projects. And obviously some of the book, I've highlighted some of the chapters because each chapter links to a song. And then obviously I have links out to the charities, and it would be great, if anyone with other related charities in America wants to contact me, we can collaborate. So there's contact details on the website, so if anyone has any questions or wants to contact me, please do.
All right, last question, Natasha. Where are you off to next? And then I will have one final one after that.
Sure. I'm on my way back to LA. I was just on TV in San Diego 6 live, and I'm going to, I think, LA for the next few days, and then probably maybe Salt Lake City tomorrow, and then I'm going to Wisconsin, and then I'm back in about 2 weeks to do some of Canada and some Atlanta. So who knows? And then the ultimate goal is Ellen. So that's my ultimate goal. So that's the end.
Wait a minute. Whoa. The ultimate goal is Ellen DeGeneres?
I love Ellen.
I thought, okay, because your agent told me your ultimate goal was Lewis at Large.
Well, you know what? I've just hit that goal, so, and this is radio goal. That's a TV goal, so it's different. So we're good. We're good for that.
Yeah, well put. Okay, last thing. All right, we make a movie, The Industry. Who plays you in the movie?
Scarlett Johansson.
Okay. I'm okay. You know what? I get it. I see it. Let me ask you something. Would you be interested in playing yourself?
No, because it's not me. Because I can't sing. You'd probably pay me to not sing. I'm the kind of person you put in the back that smiles a lot of a choir and mine.
You'll be an extra. Okay, Natasha Devine, thank you so much for spending some time with us, and would love to have you on again. Best of luck to you and sales of the work called, again, The Industry, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to your listeners.
You bet. We'll be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.